Today we're going to be looking at one of the Fastbane Friend planners, and this is part of a collection of single month daily productivity planners which were specially designed for people who have neurodivergencies. However, they do work obviously for anyone who's interested in trying out these productivity methods. But in particular, people with ADHD might find this is a much better system for approaching their daily organisation and completion of tasks. And there's a couple of reasons why. In particular, they only fit 1 month into a single notebook. And this is important because it gives them a chance to start fresh each month, regardless of how successful they were with tasking the previous month, which can give them renewed motivation. They come in a whole variety of different colours, so each month you have a new colour, and the internals of them are very different to what you would get in a standard organiser. So today what we're going to be doing is opening one up and going through and essentially providing a little bit of a tutorial on how someone could go about utilising a Fastbane Friend in their daily life. So let's go ahead and open one. This one is caramel fudge, the colour. One of 12 colours that they come in. There's just a little journaling card in there. A lot of the people who use them are bullet journalers. Interestingly, bullet journaling was a system designed for people with ADHD. That's being co-adopted by everyone, in the same way that a lot of people who don't have ADHD choose to use our planners. And the planners do integrate a lot of bullet journaling, aesthetics, and systems to make them effective. So they have really smooth matte finish covers. It's almost like a waxy, buttery feel to them. And they're really thin, so they fit really well into your bag. And the design on the front is the same for all of them. And it gives you just a bit of an idea of what you'll be getting inside. Very minimalist. So let's start with just a quick look inside. All of the paper is actually unbleached, FSC certified natural cream paper. We don't put anything on a crisp white. There's a couple of reasons for that, not only because it's better for the environment, but because it's better for your eyes. In terms of a journaling experience, really crisp white paper can be quite harsh to journal on, to look at all the time, and particularly people with neurodivergencies might find that they have certain sensitivities, and one of those things could be really harsh white paper versus something that's a little bit softer on the system. So there's two sections to the inside of a Fastbane Friend, and they're divided up using this little black strip along the edge so that you can easily find the difference internally. The section with the black strip is called the New Week Preparation Spreads, and so you get one of these for each week, which means in each notebook there's actually 5 of them because some months have 5 weeks. And these spreads are the thing that you will begin with each week. Now, all of them are undated to allow you to adopt this system at any point during the year, but also at any point during the week. If you feel that your week starts on a Sunday versus a Monday, you have that ability to adjust the journal to your own preferences. But what we've put down here is what we consider not just the priority elements to start your week off well, but also in particularly maybe things that ADHD people might struggle with. So for instance, nutrition, which is a big one for myself, and also routines. So we've got some sections over here for habit tracking. We've got a small bullet grid at the beginning here, which is sort of free use, anything you feel that would belong in there. That could be some personalizations, it could be extra notes. Every New Week prep will have this little calendar box, and the way that I prefer to do that is actually with a highlighter, so I might choose a colour for my week. I'm just going to go with this pastel one, and I'm just going to highlight what dates are included in this week's prep. So this might be, what is the date today? The 22nd. And I'm setting this spread up to start from tomorrow. So we're going to go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay. So this week's priorities, there's only space for 4, and that's really intentional because it's very easy to think everything is a priority and then get overwhelmed and achieve nothing. So start by setting what you feel is your priority for the week. Okay, so I desperately need to book some doctor's appointments. Personal admin is not a strength of mine. And daily habits I'm working on this week. I've been trying to have these smoothies each day, especially because it's winter, there's not much good fresh fruit around, and some frozen berries and kale and those sorts of things, throwing them in a smoothie with a bit of protein is really helpful for me. But I'm not very good at it because it's so cold, I don't always feel like having a smoothie either. So that's something I'm going to try and implement in my routine this week. Again, I only give 4 spaces for people to pick habits they want to work on because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And then if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority, right? So these little boxes here are for you to actually track how you did each day. 7 boxes, 1 for each day of the week. How you want to do that is really up to you. You can color, you can tick, you could do little circles, you can cross them out, however you want to do it. It's really a very personal aesthetic in terms of this. Scheduled activities, so things you want to make sure you're across for the week ahead and have thought about. What have I got on this week? I have a flight booked on Friday, so I'm going to write 29th, 10 a.m. Who am I flying with? Qantas. And that's Melbourne to Canberra. So again, however you think you'd want to write your notes. You've only got a small amount of space. Again, intentional, so that you don't overwhelm yourself with really long notes, which is something that as an ADHDer, the over information is pretty standard, and then of course it becomes too much to go back to. So now we're going to have a look at the second half of New Week preparation, which is meal planning. There is 7 days in your week with 3 meals a day and some snack options in the meal planner. This little side column can be used for days of the week. It can be used for color coding. It really depends how you like to run your nutrition plans. How would I like to do it? I think I'm just going to write the days of the week on mine. And I want to start on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then the idea is that you can set your plan and then develop a grocery list based off that in the one space. So, for instance, I know that I'm wanting to have one of these smoothies each day as part of my breakfast, but I'm also probably going to have a cream cheese bagel. So in terms of my grocery list, I'm going to pop down cream cheese, blueberry bagels, some frozen berries, some milk, and I think some frozen kale. And you'll just go through and populate your meal plan and grocery list this way. Now, another thing you might want to consider is adding colour to your plan. And it's really up to you how you might want to do that here. You might want to colour code your habits, special activities or events, certain types of meals you're going to have, and then you can carry that theme through your week to make sure that things are happening for you. So now we're going to move on to the second section of A Fast Brain Friend, which are the daily layouts. So each notebook, as I said, is for a single month, and in there are a weekly prep spread for each week and a daily productivity spread for each day. So there's 31 daily spreads in every book, even though obviously there's not 31 days in every month, but it's so that you can really pick and choose when you want to use each book, which colour. Any book will work for any month. So we're going to skip ahead now to our spreads. So there are actually 8 rotating daily layouts, so that every day that you pick up this book, there's a little bit of surprise and delight, I guess, about what you will be utilising, and also a chance to really flex your creativity, because there's not really set rules about how you might use each spread. I've really just given you some inspiration and minor direction to help sort of stimulate a little bit of interest and creativity about how you might want to manage your time that day. So there are a few features about each month which every single daily spread has in common, which is really just this top bar. So you'll be able to choose what day of the week it is, and you can either circle it, highlight it, put a little dot point on it. It's really up to you. And you'll remember that we set up to 4 habits at the start of the week that we really want to work on, which is this 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are something that you can monitor on your daily spreads as well, using your habit tracker. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you had set a color code for those, perhaps this might be a little easier. So for instance, let's say my smoothie habit is something that I want to work on this week. I'm going to track it in pink. So every day this week in my habit tracker, the pink box is going to be related to how I went with my smoothies. Now the box is split in 2 because depending on what the habits are that you're trying to track, maybe you didn't do a great job, maybe you sort of did half a job. It's a little bit open to interpretation, which means that you could potentially highlight half the box. Maybe I didn't make my smoothie, maybe I bought one, for instance. And it also means that if you didn't achieve that habit, you could potentially cross and say, no, sorry, I didn't get to that one. So I might say this one is Sunday. That's when I like to start my week. I'm just going to go with a little dot underneath. So the first layout in the book is a pretty basic one. There's a spot where I can actually put down schedule for the day from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Anything that's time specific, I might want to actually put in there. There's an open bullet journaling space here. And I'll just get that a bit closer so that you can really see the grid on there. It's very light. And then down the bottom here is one of my favorite ways to sort of clear my head, which can be really cluttered sometimes, is a mental inventory. So I can start my day by breaking up what I'm working on, what I should be working on, and what I really want to be working on. And that way it becomes a little bit easier to make decisions about where to prioritize my time for this day. The next spread is a little more creative. It's a circular shape, but it is a little bit like a clock or a rainbow, I guess. Sitting your priority right in the center, and then you have these sort of sectionals about how you break up your day, which you can use. And there's a couple of ways you can use those. You can use them like quadrants in a chart where you just type what you want to work on into the different sections, or perhaps it's more like a scheduling. So you might say this is about 9 a.m. and you've got a meeting that's going to run till 11. So in that time, you're in the GM. Definitely encourage you to include colour in your spread, which could be, again, on your day, in your habit tracker, or even in your rainbow. Mornings could be green, mornings could be free time perhaps. Or maybe this meeting was one of our priorities from our schedule and we decided a colour. And so that means that on our daily plan, we're going to make sure that it like sticks to our colour, for instance. So you can really mix it up and make that spread work for you and your brain. Let's have a quick look at the other spreads in here. This one has sort of 4 boxes, which could be your 4 primary tasks or projects that you're working on that day. And it sort of looks at macro and micro tasks. So it might be a major task at the top, and then the 4 or 5 smaller tasks that you would actually break that bigger one down into to complete. Because it's all well and good to say, go to doctor's appointment, but that could actually be make a phone call, prepare medical documents, all those bits and pieces, which when you have ADHD, it can be a little bit more difficult to break a bigger task down in your mind, and it just becomes too overwhelming to approach. So that's sort of the goal with the 4 task boxes. And then half your day for this one is put aside for side quests. So other bits and pieces that might come up during the day or that you want to achieve during that day that aren't necessarily related to your 4 major projects that you were working on. You could use this in terms of planning or journaling. Day 4, we've got more of a schedule. So again, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. down the middle, and then it's been broken into 2 sides, which you can use any way you like. Perhaps you'll actually record this side as time-based appointments and scheduling items, whereas this side might be tasks you want to achieve during those moments of the day. It's all bullet grid, so that you can really make it your own. You might even make it stuff you have to be doing versus stuff you enjoy, or journaling on one side and doodling, and then the other one is actual productivity, just to give your brain that space to dump other things. It can always be really important. So that one's a pretty open layout. This one is a graph, 6 till 10 across the top again. And then there's these little squares down the side which you can assign to tasks, projects, thoughts, and then work your way across perhaps into when you might be wanting to achieve those bits and pieces. And you could be highlighting the squares that correspond with that particular task. Maybe I want to do that one here, for instance. Now this spread is probably the closest to a standard productivity spread, and yet is still quite different. We've broken your day into 4 chunks, but only given you the opportunity to set one priority really for each chunk of your day, and then a space next to that for time-specific tasks, which might be associated with that particular priority. And then everything else goes into your distraction box. Now the distraction box is really important from an ADHD perspective, because that's really where we find our mind gets drawn, and it can be really hard to shift your focus from those things sometimes. So it gives you a space to still place it importantly, so that you can move on to your priorities without really forgetting about them. And that can often satisfy that little bit of dopamine your brain is craving to say, yes, I've thought about it, it's here, it's got its space in this box, but here's my priority this morning. Last 2 spreads. This one is like a road or pathway through your day, hitting different points along the road. You can be really creative with this one. You can be mapping it, little tasks, jobs, things being achieved throughout your time on here. You could be blocking out sections of it. You could be putting tasks off here as well. And then another relatively standard sort of productivity methods in place here. Quite a few bullet journaling ones, but also some ADHD ones in here. So maximum of 3 priorities for the day, 1 reminder for ourselves, and then similar to what we had at the start with the mental inventory page, we've got working on what I should actually be working on and what I want to be working on, and then the opportunity to actually decide what you're going to do with that information. Am I going to keep it on my day? Am I going to move it to another day? So today I might really want to be doing videos, and that's what I'm working on, and I might decide to keep it, but what I really want to be working on is a new product. And when I look at my finish list, I have to make the decision on whether or not I'm going to get to that or whether I should move it to somewhere else in my month. Space for actually scheduled items. 4 p.m. S will arrive, for instance, which is my husband. And then a distraction box, as always, things that come up that my brain gets stuck on, that I want to say, yes, brain, I will come back to it, but it's just not on my list for today. So each day you will get a fresh start. There is only the 8 spreads, so by day 9 you're back to the first one, which gives you that opportunity to circle back to some of your favorite productivity layouts throughout the month. And it'll be 1 through till 27, 28, 29, 31. 31st of the month you can start a new book. Oh, I almost forgot about this last section. There is also a couple of pages at the back which are checklist pages. We call this a list master layout. It's a space that you can put notes, perhaps things that you've thrown in your distraction boxes throughout the week, or if you have larger checklists related to some of the tasks you're working on throughout your week, you can use some of these pages, and it'll give you space to actually check things off as you go. It could be a schedule, tasks, ideas, or just a standard checklist for a project. So those can come in really handy. I'm a real list maker, as I'm sure lots of you are. Okay, so that's our whole book. If you guys have any questions about more specific ideas on how to use any of those spreads, I would love to hear them. Send them through. And I would also love to see some examples of how you guys are using your spreads that we can share with the community. You're also incredibly creative, we know this. And so you've come up with some amazing ideas for adapting some of these daily layouts, which we didn't even think of when we crafted them. So I love, love, love seeing that. And I know a lot of people as well would benefit from some of those ideas and that inspiration. So yeah, send them through.